rebooted it 3 times this morning. It's still slow in some places. So we're solving this question. This is example 2 on page 588. Is that correct, where we are at? Yes? Good. So in 2a, we have some like terms. We can put our like terms together. What I might do is I might move the coses to the right side, subtract cos on each side. Add 4 to both sides. And get cos by itself to be negative 2/3. And then, that's not on my pie plate. Make sure my calculator is in radians, and I can find my reference angle by doing cos inverse of positive 2/3, which is 0.841. So remember, we always do the inverse of the positive value to find a reference angle. Now, according to this, cos is negative. You know that cos is negative in quadrants 2 and 3. So then x would equal, well, in quadrant 2, I would do pi minus my reference angle. And in quadrant 2, I would do pi plus my reference angle. So I get 2.30 and 3.98. This is the answer in quadrant 2. This is an answer in quadrant 3. And I'm making a little note. Because it's sort of a pattern that we do, that we always seem to solve between 0 and 2 pi. And a lot of the questions are exactly that. Just solve between 0 and 2 pi. So we get into the habit that once we start a question, we probably solve between 0 and 2 pi. But we should always also make a habit of reading our question afterwards. Okay? What did the question say? No, not between 0 and 2 pi. The domain that they said was negative pi over 2 to 3 pi over 2. If you are thinking about your unit circle, can you see that that's still once around? Okay? But it includes this section as a negative angle and these sections as positive angles. And what did we get? We got quadrant 2 positive, quadrant 3 positive. That's okay. So we did all that work checking and just to find out that our answers are okay. Did we have to do anything different because this negative angle in quadrant 4? No, because we didn't have any answers in quadrant 4. The only answers we had were quadrant 2 and quadrant 3. The question also says to write the general solution. How do we write a general solution? Well, we take the answers between 0 and 2 pi, which we've already found, 2.30 and 3.98, and add 2k pi to both of them. Part B. To the nearest degree, solve root 2 cosecant x equals negative pi. So we have cosecant. We could get cosecant by itself. dividing both sides by the square root of 2. And anytime you have one of your reciprocal functions, once you get it by itself, which we've done here, you could change it to its other function. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so I could now write that if cosecant of x is equal to negative 5 over root 2, then sine of x would be the flip, negative root 2 over 5. Is that on our unit circle? No. So we're going to take out our calculator. We're going to find our reference angle. But before that even, I notice this question is in degrees. So I'm going to have to find my reference angle by doing sine inverse of positive root 2 over 5 in degrees. So you have to be able to switch back and forth between radians and degrees. Sine inverse of the square root of 2 divided by 5. 16.4 degrees. Did it ask the nearest degree? 16 degrees. So then x, because sine is negative, it'd be quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. In quadrant 3, you do 180 plus your reference angle. And in quadrant 4, you would do 360 minus your reference angle, 344 degrees. Again, just like the first question where we solved between 0 and 2 pi, in degrees, we just solved between 0 and 360 once around. Now I'm going to read my question, and unlike the last one, I'm going to be disappointed. It says from negative 180 to 180. So what does that mean with regards to our unit circle or to our circle? Well, negative 180 to 180 would mean from 0 to negative 180 and from 0 to positive 180. Since we always measure an angle starting from 0, whenever I have negative 180 to 180, I break it up into two parts. I think about the negative answers, 0 to negative 180, and positive answers, 0 to 187. Where were our answers? They were in quadrant 3 and quadrant 4. You see that we wrote them positive, but it doesn't exist in the positive. So we have to just temporarily, little line through that. I still want to see those numbers because I'm going to use them later. X is going to equal, well, 344 would be negative 16 degrees. And 196, that would be negative 174 degrees. 164, thank you. And then our general solution, because this question asks for the general solution as well. And this is where sometimes you might write a general solution that looks different than the answer key in the textbook. For me personally, I would do the general solution and I would use the first two answers we found, 196 degrees and 344 degrees, plus 360 degrees times k, plus 360 degrees times k, where k is an integer. But you could have also used negative 16 and negative 164. Because all your general solution is doing is saying every single thing that's coterminal. And it doesn't matter what your starting value is. So instead of 196, I could have written negative 164. It would do the same thing. But for me, I always like to use the answers in the first time around when writing my general solution. But there's more than one way that it could be written. So I'd like you to circle questions 6 and 7.